With the Raptors being at the epicenter of a lot of trade talks around the NBA, apparently the franchise has been frustrating a lot of organizations during these negotiations, as the team doesn't want to give an inch in any of these trade talks. So we'll discuss that, including an update regarding Fred VanVleet, a weird report surrounding Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby, and a Raptors legend retiring, or a guy that used to play for the Toronto Raptors retiring. Lots of stuff to break down. Without further ado, let's jump on the first topic of discussion. The first thing we're taking a look at is Raptors frustrating other teams during trade talks. Now, this is not something that's new, from Masai Ujiri in this Raptors front office. Ever since he came in, Masai Ujiri gained and built the reputation as one of the toughest bargainers in the entire NBA, usually coming out on the right side of a lot of trades. In retrospect, looked like he finessed a lot of teams during some trades that he's made over his Raptors tenure, but in recent years, he's gained the rep as a guy that's tough to deal with, not in the right way, as he doesn't really get deals done. I mean, the Sixers, Kyle Lowry trade talks when Lowry's in his final season with the Raptors. That was the first time it was really put out onto the scene about how Masai Ujiri's always asking for the moon, right? Not able to deliver the same type of value back, right? That's when these rumblings sort of started. But now, with all the rumors and the reports we've heard in recent weeks, apparently these talks regarding the Toronto Raptors' stubbornness have picked up again, as reports have come out from HP Basketball that multiple sources have described the Raptors as a frustrating team to deal with. And I discussed the history of this, and a lot of Raptors fans have polarizing views on Masai Ujiri's approach, especially in recent years, about frustrating other teams, because one, they're saying, hey, it makes sense. You don't want your GM to sort of give away assets like the Washington Wizards did today. I guess they were sort of handcuffed given the fact Bradley Beal had a no trade clause, and he could sort of pick and choose the team he wanted to deal with, but they gave away their star player for literally the Phoenix Suns garbage. And Chris Paul, who was reported that they were going to waive, if a deal didn't go down, and Landry Shamet, who was horrific in the playoffs this year, right? They took him back for their franchise's centerpiece. You don't want to be a team that's too friendly to negotiate with, I guess, and giving away pieces based off what the stars want to do, what the other team wants, what works out for your other people. But you also do need to be able to give and take, in trade negotiations. Ideally, with a trade, you want both teams to feel like they're coming out happy on the side of it, right? Both teams, a trade in theory is supposed to make both teams better. So if Masai Ujiri, isn't willing to listen, isn't willing to concede on some points and stuff, we're just not going to be able to make any trades happen. And given the fact this team is currently in the middle of the pack, in the middle of the road, there's not going to be really any avenues for the team to improve if just every single team, besides the San Antonio Spurs, are going to end up trading with us. And the Spurs, I think Masai Ujiri's reputation as an absolute finesser must have taken a hit in recent years, given the fact that we've made two blunders in retrospect in terms of trades with the Spurs. Maybe the Jakob Poeltl one isn't, but the Thaddeus Young one definitely looks like an L, given the fact that we could have drafted Walker Kessler, but I don't know, maybe we're going to draft Koloko anyways, but I digress on those points. It is something that's interesting. We also had a weird report come out a few weeks ago when the Raptors were still in their coaching search about how the Raptors front office, Masai Ujiri and the squad were feeling pretty happy about how they had the league on watch, perplexed by what the team was going to do, and that sounded a little bit weird as someone that's not an insider with any deep insider front office knowledge on the team. It could have been fake news or whatever the heck's going on, that Masai Ujiri just enjoys seeing the frustration, the confusion in other organizations. I don't know. I'm not reading too much into it, but it is something that has been a consistent theme with this current front office, that teams just don't always end up feeling pleasant about negotiations with the squad unless it's the San Antonio Spurs. So let me know what you guys think about this. Do you think this is hindering or helping the Toronto Raptors going forward in potential negotiations, potential trades? Is it good to play hardball, or should we sort of give a couple inches in order for us to get some back? Let me know what you guys think on that front. But the next thing we're taking a look at is another Fred VanVleet free agency update. And again, feels like every day we're getting something new regarding Fred VanVleet. And this one's sort of building off a report from Jake Fisher that we broke down in yesterday's video. But basically, that 30 million number, where Jake kind of threw it out as something that his agent's sort of expecting, the team is sort of expecting, but he values him as more of a $20 million range. Mike Scotto came out and basically validated this $30 million per year range for Fred VanVleet. It's basically Toronto Raptors free agent guard Fred VanVleet is expected to command $30+ million annually, according to NBA executives who spoke with Hoops Hype. So where are the top destinations for him to land? after a mutual decision for Fred VanVleet and the Raptors to hold off on extension talks that would have potentially landed him at a 4-year, $114 million contract, which is considered below his market value. Toronto remains in the mix to sign the 2022 All-Star guard. However, several other teams, including the Rockets, Lakers, Suns, and Magic, have been linked to Fred VanVleet as potential suitors, while other playoff caliber teams could emerge as sign and trade options. So Fred VanVleet, the same sort of teams are getting listed off there now. It seems like one of those teams is going to be off the board, given a trade that ended up going down today. As I already briefly discussed earlier in this video, Bradley Beal went to the Phoenix Suns, in return for Chris Paul and Landry Shamet. So I imagine they still kind of need a point guard, but I imagine Devin Booker will fall into that spot because they're not going to be able to afford another guy that's going to be making, even if Fred's making $20 million, the Suns can't pay Beal, who's making roughly $50 million per year at one point. Kevin Durant's on a max, Booker on a max, right? DeAndre Ayton on a max as well. They aren't going to be able to add another dude with 4 max contract players on that roster, another guy that's going to be looking for that type of money. So wipe the Phoenix Suns off Fred VanVleet's radar. There's other teams that we're going to have to compete with if we're hoping to bring him back. But let me know what you guys think about this number, as it seems to be the thing that's, the range that seems to be the consensus for Fred VanVleet at this point. But let me know what you guys think about that. Next thing we're taking a look at is a weird Anunoby and Pascal Siakam report coming out regarding, the Toronto Raptors. We've heard Fred rumors. We've heard Pascal reports. We've heard OG Anunoby news coming out left, right, and center regarding this team. So feels like everyone's sort of on the table. No one knows for sure, as Masai Ujiri loves to do. Confuse and frustrate other people. But seems like everyone's on the table. But a new report's coming out that had me a little bit interested, as it says, and this is coming from Hoop Action Net, saying that, speak of Anunoby, there's a growing sense among executives who have called the Toronto Raptors, albeit with some caution, but Pascal Siakam may be easier to deal with than OG Anunoby currently. One savvy executive did mention that he felt that this means to judge the market value if and when the Raptors do decide trade OG Anunoby. However, it's fair to say the front offices are pretty worn out in attempts of Toronto to get blood from a stone, as one executive put it at the deadline in any trade. Multiple sources have described the Raptors as frustrating to deal with, so why keep calling? Right? There are only 29 teams in the NBA. There are 29 teams in NBA to work with. So this sort of builds off the the frustration report, right? Other teams feel like they're trying to squeeze blood from a stone when the Raptors, we're playing a hardball big time. So this is a build and extension off that, but saying that the Raptors might be more likely or easier get to trade away Pascal Siakam than OG. And I'd imagine this means that the Raptors are being a little bit more fair in terms of the open market value regarding Pascal Siakam than they are with OG. They value OG Anunoby higher, relatively than they do Pascal Siakam relative to the open market position. So I don't think this is necessarily indicating, as some people have taken it, that the Raptors value OG more than Pascal Siakam. Like if we got offered a Pascal Siakam-esque package for OG, we're taking that for sure, rather than, if it wasn't necessarily for Pascal. But the relative value, right? We want to hold on to OG a little bit more. OG Anunoby is Masai Ujiri's star, right? They took that little photo op earlier in the season and stuff. So, I'd still be surprised at this point if OG Anunoby's dealt. Pascal, I feel like, is the more likely guy to be traded beyond the move, even though he's the better player at this point in their careers, even though if he's on a bigger contract. But let me know what you guys think about that. I do find it interesting, as OG is a free agent after this season. He has said, a report has come out, that OG would be eager to return to the Toronto Raptors on one condition, that he's going to be more involved in the offense. But under Darko Rajakovic, I believe that will be the case. We'll have that free-flowing offense. We discussed the offense in abundance in some videos regarding Darko Rajakovic, so definitely check those out. But the final thing we're taking a look at in this video is a former Toronto Raptor retires. I called him a legend by accident earlier in the vid, and some may call him a legend. He's got a Drake song about him, six man like Lou Williams, who did win a Six Man of the Year award for the Toronto Raptors, had a big impact in the one season he was here. Culturally, six man, two girls, like I'm Lou Will, had two girlfriends while I was here. Embraced the city while he was here, but interestingly enough, when he left, was kind of roasting us. I think he was unhappy the Raptors didn't want to bring him back because he didn't play a lick of defense. But basically, the 17 career veteran, goodness gracious, after a 17-year NBA career, Lou Williams announces he has retired from basketball. Williams is a 3-time Six Man of the Year award winner, and the NBA's all-time leading bench scorer. So, even though he had some weird comments regarding the Toronto Raptors at one point following him leaving, all the best to Lou Will. Seemed like a chill dude. Really enjoyed his time with the Toronto Raptors, even if he didn't play defense coming off the bench with him and Gravis Vasquez. But, if that playoff run would have been fun, would have been better. That 2015 team was a fun little squad that the team had. So let me know what you guys think about all this Toronto Raptors news. You guys are the best to make it this far. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're getting really close to 28,000 subscribers. So I appreciate you guys as always. I'm signing out. Cheers.